Psychology tells a shocking truth about haters: it's never about the other person. Hatred is a mirror, reflecting fear, insecurity, and the need to belong. Every hater is secretly battling themselves, projecting weakness as cruelty, envy as judgment. The more they feel small, the louder their attacks. And yet, hate is contagious. When a group validates it, a single spark of resentment can become a wildfire. Fear of the different, the exceptional, or the unknown makes them lash out, while the brain rewards negativity with fleeting pleasure, trapping them in a loop they barely notice. But here's the most astonishing part: the same mind that breeds hatred can transform it. Understanding, compassion, and insight can turn resentment into curiosity, fear into admiration, and weakness into growth. So the next time you face a hater, remember, they are not your enemy, they are a mind at war with itself, and even the darkest hostility can be a seed for change. Psychology reveals a disturbing truth. Many haters aren't driven by strength or superiority, but by an internal panic they can barely admit to themselves. Hate becomes their shield, a disguise worn to hide fractures in their self-esteem that feel too shameful to confront. When a person feels small, threatened, or irrelevant, the mind searches desperately for a way to regain control, and projecting hostility onto someone else becomes the quickest escape. It's a psychological sleight of hand. Instead of facing their own insecurities, they externalize them, attacking the very people who trigger the fears they cannot name. What makes this phenomenon shocking is that the hater often believes they are acting rationally, even boldly. In reality, their hostility is a form of self-defense against an invisible enemy living inside them. Every insult, every attempt to belittle someone is an unconscious cry of, "Don't look too closely at me because I'm terrified of what you'll find." The more successful, confident, or unique the target is, the more violently the hater's internal alarm goes off. They lash out not because the other person is wrong, but because they symbolize everything the hater feels they lack. This defense mechanism becomes a psychological prison, trapping the hater in a cycle where attacking others is easier than confronting the mirror. Psychology exposes a brutal reality. Insecurity is not just a feeling, it's a breeding ground where hate grows like a toxic weed. The shocking part is that many haters don't even realize their hostility is rooted in their own silent battles. When a person constantly compares themselves to others, every success, every talent, every spark in someone else feels like a spotlight exposing their own perceived failures. That moment of comparison hits the ego like a slap, and instead of admitting, "I feel inadequate," the mind flips the script. They don't deserve it, or they're not that special. It becomes easier to attack the person who unintentionally triggered their inner wounds than to confront the pain directly. This insecurity creates a psychological hunger, an urge to pull others down just to feel level again. Haters become emotional scavengers, feeding off negativity because it gives them a temporary illusion of superiority. The more they scroll, observe, and compare, the more poisonous their thoughts become. Someone else's achievement feels like theft. Someone else's confidence feels like insult, and someone else's joy feels like a reminder of everything they fear they aren't. What makes this truly shocking is how quickly insecurity transforms ordinary people into critics, gossipers, or online attackers. They don't hate because others are wrong. They hate because others make them feel exposed, small, and painfully aware of who they wish they could be. Psychology unveils a startling truth about human behavior. Hatred is rarely born in isolation. It often flourishes in the shadows of group dynamics, where the collective mind validates and amplifies personal animosities. When an individual aligns with a tribe, community, or even an online crowd, the brain experiences a strange chemical thrill, endorphins, and dopamine spike, as criticism or mockery is shared, laughed at, and reinforced. Suddenly, what might have been a fleeting negative thought transforms into a weapon, wielded with confidence because others nod, agree, or cheer. The shock lies in realizing that ordinary people can commit extraordinary cruelty when the social environment whispers permission to do so. This phenomenon is deeply entwined with the human need to belong. Being part of a group that disparages a target provides security and identity. It tells the hater, consciously or unconsciously, that "I am safe, I am justified, I am superior here." The more the group legitimizes hostility, the less the individual questions the morality or truth of their attacks. Social conformity overrides empathy, and personal conscience is muted beneath the roar of the collective. The hater is no longer just themselves. They are a fragment of a larger, more dangerous psychological machinery. The most disturbing element is that this dynamic doesn't require extreme ideology or malice. Ordinary insecurity, when amplified by the right social echo chamber, can turn anyone into a hater, complicit in cruelty they might never enact alone. Psychology exposes a chilling reality. Fear is one of the most invisible yet powerful engines of hate. When a person encounters someone or something they cannot understand, control, or replicate, the mind often reacts not with curiosity but with hostility. This reaction is startling because it feels instinctual, as if the hatred were an automatic defense mechanism, yet it is entirely rooted in fear. The exceptional, the different, the brilliant. These are not merely admired, they are perceived as threats to the fragile equilibrium of the observer's self-concept. The very success or uniqueness of another person can trigger panic, as if the world itself were judging the hater's shortcomings. What makes this psychological phenomenon shocking is how unconscious it is. Most haters do not stop to ask why they feel a surge of resentment. They simply act upon it, masking fear as contempt. Every sneer, insult, or undermining comment is a desperate attempt to regain a sense of control over a reality that feels dangerously uncontrollable. The mind tells itself, if I diminish them, I am safe, creating a vicious cycle where fear breeds hatred, and hatred temporarily masks fear. This mechanism explains why some of the most talented, successful, or different individuals face relentless criticism. Hatred is rarely about the target. It is a mirror reflecting the observer's terror of inadequacy, invisibility, or irrelevance in a world they cannot dominate. Psychology uncovers a disturbing truth. Negativity can become addictive. Hatred is not just an emotion. It can act like a drug, triggering small, almost imperceptible hits of pleasure in the brain. When someone insults, criticizes, or belittles another, dopamine is released, giving a fleeting sense of power, superiority, or satisfaction. The shocking part is that this reward is entirely illusory. It does not fix insecurity, heal failure, or mend self-doubt. Yet the brain craves it, and the hater, knowingly or unknowingly, returns again and again to this toxic cycle. What makes this phenomenon so dangerous is its subtlety. One negative comment on social media, one whispered insult in a workplace, or one sarcastic remark in a friendship can trigger the same neurological response as small victories or genuine accomplishments. Over time, the hater's mind begins to prioritize these microdoses of validation over real connection or self-improvement. The more they focus on tearing others down, the more their brain equates hostility with reward, and the harder it becomes to stop. Even more shocking is how this cycle blinds the hater to its futility. Each act of disdain feels empowering in the moment, yet it leaves a residue of emptiness, insecurity, and isolation that demands another hit. Hatred feeds itself, creating a loop where the temporary high of superiority traps the mind in perpetual craving, turning ordinary people into relentless critics, observers, and destroyers of joy. Psychology reveals an astonishing fact. The mind that breeds hate is also capable of transformation, and this potential often goes unnoticed. Many haters are not inherently malicious. They are misdirected, trapped in patterns of fear, insecurity, or social conditioning. What is shocking is how thin the line is between hostility and understanding, how a slight shift in perception can redirect the same mental energy from destruction to curiosity. Behind every act of ridicule or scorn lies a mind desperate for control, yet capable of empathy if given a pathway to reflection. The human brain is wired to adapt, to reframe, and to reinterpret experiences. When a hater encounters compassion, exposure to perspective, or insight into their own motivations, the psychological landscape begins to shift. The mind that once sought reward in tearing others down can learn to seek satisfaction in connection, curiosity, and recognition of shared humanity. What makes this so astonishing is that the very defenses haters erect Projection, criticism, and hostility can also become gateways for self-awareness. This means that hate is not necessarily permanent, it is a symptom, not a destiny. With patience, guidance, and the right environment, the psychological forces driving hostility can be redirected. The same intensity that fuels bitterness can, under proper conditions, become a powerful engine for empathy, growth, and even admiration for what once provoked fear or resentment. In exploring the psychology of haters, we realize that hatred is rarely about the person being targeted. It reflects fear, insecurity, comparison, and the struggle to belong. Understanding this allows us to respond with wisdom, protect our own peace, and even see the potential for change in others. The minds that create hostility can also transform, showing that hate is not permanent. It is a symptom, not a destiny. Thank you for watching and taking the time to reflect on this important topic. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends who might benefit from it, and subscribe to my channel for more deep dives into psychology and the human mind. Stay curious, stay aware, and keep exploring the hidden workings of human behavior.